Welcome to the Empower Her Wellness Podcast. I'm Morgan, and I'm thrilled to be your host and wellness coach as we navigate the path to a healthier, more confident you. As the owner of Get Fit With Me, I bring years of experience in personal training, nutrition, and coaching to each episode. Join me as we explore practical tips and strategies for fitness, nutrition, mindset, and more, all tailored for busy women just like you. Let's empower your wellness journey and achieve lasting transformation together. Hi, everyone. Welcome back to the Empower Her Wellness Podcast. I'm your host and coach, Morgan Ekovich. And today we are going to be talking about a topic that I teased a little bit a few episodes ago in our strength training episode. So today we're going to first talk about what protein does for your body. Because yes, you can hear people talk about eat your protein, make sure you get your protein in, all of that. I've got a bunch of funny things that run through my head when I say that because I just see it all over social media. But what does it actually do? Protein is the building block for every cell in your body. It's involved in virtually every process: muscle repair and growth, immune function, hormone production, and even your hair and skin health. One of the most important roles of protein, especially for women who are focused on strength, fitness, weight loss, is its role in building and repairing muscle tissue. So, like I said, if you listened to our strength training episode a few weeks ago, we talked about this, that we talked about what happens to our muscle, and protein is what is there to help repair it. After a workout, our muscles need protein to repair those really tiny tears in the muscle that happened during exercise. This repair process is also what makes our muscles stronger and more defined over time. So if you're someone who works out all the time and you're not getting enough protein, that could be why you're not seeing the definition and the strength that you feel like you should be seeing. Protein is also a key player when it comes to fat loss. It's more satiating than fats or carbs, meaning it's going to keep you fuller longer. This can help reduce unnecessary snacking or overeating. Plus, when you're losing weight, protein helps preserve that lean muscle mass, ensuring you're losing weight and not muscle. Because that's the other thing that happens is when we do lose weight, and we're going to talk about this in a little bit, is when we do lose that weight, a lot of times it's either water weight or it's our muscle. We're not always losing fat. So we want to make sure that we're losing that fat and not that muscle that you've built so hard to build up. Getting enough protein is critical in different stages of life, like pregnancy, postpartum, even menopause. As we age, we actually lose muscle mass. So protein becomes even more important in helping in keeping us staying strong and healthy. So if we can increase that lean muscle mass, that right there is going to help us stay healthy and stronger. So what happens when we don't get enough protein? And this is something I actually worked with a client with earlier this year. She was postpartum. She is a farm girl. So she's up like at 4 a.m. on the farm. And she noticed that, well, one, it was baby number 3. So every time you go through a pregnancy, your body is being depleted of nutrients. We have an episode coming up in the upcoming weeks with someone who specializes in pregnancies and nutrition around that. But we lose nutrients because we're giving our nutrients to the baby. Same thing goes postpartum. You are deficient in so many things that we need to rebuild your supply. And not getting enough protein is one of those things that we need to regain. So she noticed brittle nails, less energy. So we worked together and we found a way to get her more protein in at the start of her day. And she started to see a difference. Like I just checked in with her a few weeks ago and we were talking about, and she's like, my nails are still going strong. I'm still doing it, which I love, like those little things. So if you're not getting enough protein, your body is going to start to show it in subtle ways. You might notice that you're more fatigued, that your workouts are going to feel harder, that your recovery takes longer. You could also experience thinning hair, brittle nails, weaker muscles. Even your immune system could suffer, making it harder for you to fight off infections. So if you are someone who is around kiddos and you notice yourself getting sick pretty often and that immune system's low, take a look at your protein. I'm not saying it's the answer, but it's definitely one of the things that it affects. So we should take a look at it. The other thing that it does is when we're not eating enough protein, when we're trying to lose weight, like I mentioned, we end up losing muscle instead of fat. And it's important that we're getting adequate amount of protein so that our body, when it's looking for energy and a source of energy in the body, that it starts eating away at that fat and it doesn't start eating away at that muscle. Long term protein deficiency can lead to a decrease in bone density, making you more susceptible for injuries like fractures. It's especially important for women as we age, given that we're already at a higher risk for osteoporosis. So, long term, if you are in a protein deficiency for a really long time, if you're noticing any of these, I would highly recommend first tracking your protein to see how much you're getting. Also, when you track food, remember, don't all of a sudden go ahead and increase all your protein intake and be like, I'm doing really good. No, we'll talk about that a little bit more. But figure out how much you're eating and then consult your doctor. Make sure that there's nothing else underlying going on. And then increase your protein a little bit and see if that starts to kind of solve some of these things. Do you start to have more energy? Does your hair get a little thicker? Do your nails get a little stronger? Do you start to notice some of these subtle ways that don't always notice right away, but it's that slow change over time? So that is what happens when we don't get enough protein. So we talked about the benefits of getting enough protein, what happens when we don't get enough. But now let's talk about how much protein we should be aiming for. So I love this question because there is a scientific number that I can give you, and you can break it down. You can do all the math, but I'm not going to give that to you. If you would like that number and you'd like me to tell you exactly how much protein you should be having, then go to the show notes, click the link, and you'll see it down there. It says, give me my protein intake, and I will give you how many grams of protein you need to be having. But now I'm going to give you a generalization. Reason being is I've worked with so many different types of clients, so many ages. I've just worked with a ton of clients. And as soon as I give them that number, it's overwhelming because it's a higher number than you think it's going to be. So if you are asking for how much protein you should be having, my recommendation always as a start is let's aim to consistently get 100 grams of protein a day, because what really plays into a factor is our body weight, how active we are, all of those types of things. Right now, if you're not even getting 100 on a consistent basis, we don't need to worry about that more specific number. So, how do we figure out if we're getting 100 grams of protein? You food log. That is the number one thing you should be doing. And I'm not saying you have to food log forever, it's a tool. Talked about that in our earlier episodes of the show, that we have to create a baseline. So what you're going to do is you can either pull out MyFitnessPal. If you have a Fitbit, use the food tracking portion inside Fitbit, grab a piece of paper. The more precise you can be on the quantity and the type of protein you have, the better. The more specific you can be, the better overall. If you are overwhelmed by it, just start with generic and we can dial it down and dial it deeper. But what we want to make sure we are doing is first getting that baseline, because a lot of women, and they come to me and I have them food log and I tell them 100 grams. They're like, oh my goodness, I bet I'm getting close to that. When you food log, you realize you're getting closer to 50 to 70 grams. That's usually where I see people sit. So, first thing is track your food. I also have a link in the show notes if you'd like to submit a food log audit and start this process completely free. I will look over your food log. I will let you know some areas where we can increase that protein and make some changes. So, both those links are in the show notes. When we look at your protein, and if you are at 50 grams, and I just told you need 100, what I do not want you to do is add an extra 50 grams every single day, because you will get constipated, bloated, uncomfortable. You will start to feel all sorts of things and you'll be like, Morgan, it's not working. Same thing goes when we drink water. We want to slowly build that up. One, because we want to be consistent with it. And if we make that big jump without actually slowly building, you may be really consistent for a couple weeks, maybe in a couple months, but then you're going to fall back into your old habits. So it's really important that we are consistently building up to that 100 grams, so that body will respond to the protein the way we want it to. So when we think about that 100 grams, I want us to think about that still, because that is our goal. As I'm talking to you, we are thinking of 100 grams of protein. What that breaks down to is 25 to 30 grams of protein per meal. I like to sometimes say 20 to 30, 25 to 30, really, if it's in that range there for your meal. So every morning, I am a breakfast girl. I wake up hungry. It means my metabolism has burned off everything from the night before. It's a good thing. I wake up, I eat within the first 30 minutes to an hour of waking, and I eat 25 to 30 grams of protein. And it's not just, you have to remember that there is protein that will come from your grains. And we're going to talk about the types of protein there are, but there's protein that comes from different sources. So I'm not sitting there having 30 grams of eggs. No, in my whole meal, I'm getting 30 grams of protein. And then at lunch, okay, I'm striving for 20 to 30 grams. At dinner, I can get an idea, okay, where am I sitting? Can I have closer to 20? Do I need to get closer to that 30? Also, did I have a snack today? Did my snack have a little bit of protein in it so that I'm not only relying on those main meals? It's also important to keep our blood sugar stable throughout the day because a lot of times we have these carbs, which are great. We need carbohydrates. Our body needs carbohydrates. But if all we are having is carbohydrates, especially like pastas and grains and breads and things like that, we have these blood sugar spikes and crashes. Same thing happens with fruits and vegetables, but I tend to see it a little bit more in those pastas and those higher carb where we think of like breads and oatmeal and that type of stuff. But we have those spikes and those dips. And if we can pair that with healthy fats and proteins, then we have less of those throughout our day, which are less energy crashes. So think about your 100 grams. First log, where are you? Can you slowly build that up? Okay, have we gotten to 100 grams consistently? How do we do that? We break it up into 20 to 30 grams per meal. We add a few snacks in there throughout the day as needed. We are all a little bit different. So it's not a precise thing, is what I'm talking about right now. But this right here, if you can implement this, you will start to see change. I guarantee it. So now let's talk about the types of protein we should focus on. There's two types of proteins. There's complete and incomplete proteins. So complete proteins contain complete, all of the essential amino acids that your body needs. Examples of complete proteins are animal products like chicken, fish, beef, eggs, dairy. So think about that as that complete protein that has all of the essential amino acids your body needs. Then we have incomplete proteins, which are going to typically be plant-based and don't contain all. They do not contain all the essential amino acids. This does not mean they are bad. It does not mean they are bad. We just have complete and incomplete. There's just two types. All that tells us, though, is if we are somebody who eats more incomplete proteins, we need to combine them with other protein sources to get that complete profile so that we are getting a complete amino acid profile. Some examples of incomplete proteins are beans, lentils, quinoa, tofu, certain grains. So, when you think about it, think about your diet. Are you eating more complete proteins, incomplete? Would you say you kind of have a balance of both? What does your diet look like? You're also going to learn that in your food log. When we do a food log, I have you audit yourself and then I audit you. And then I give you your next steps because it's important to know, what do you notice in your own diet? Some people notice a ton. Some people are just, I just don't know. I don't know what I'm supposed to be looking for. And that's okay. But your knowledge, it allows me to teach you better. So that's why I always have you audit yourself and then I audit you. So, best protein sources for women, animal sources: chicken, turkey, lean beef, fish, especially salmon, which also is going to give you healthy omega 3s, eggs, Greek yogurt are all going to be excellent sources of complete protein. These are typically going to be the most effective way for you to hit that protein target every day. Our plant-based sources. For those of you who do prefer more a plant-based diet or just want to add that variety in because you're just, I'm just tired of chicken. Focus on foods like lentils, chickpeas, garbanzo beans, just another word for chickpeas, black beans, edamame, tempeh, tofu, quinoa, chia seeds. You can combine these foods with other foods like rice and beans to get those essential amino acids. So remember, incomplete protein, you have to do some comboing of things to create that complete profile. If you're having complete proteins, you've got it all there. You're all set. The other thing, so we've talked about complete and incomplete. There's a third category here, and it's supplements. It's a protein supplement, and it can be hard to get all of your protein in through whole foods. My goal for you is that you can get 100 grams of protein in via whole foods. If we strategically plan and we set you up for success, it is easy to do that. If you are now in the specifics, like I said, you filled out the protein calculator and you're like, oh, I've been hitting 100 grams really well with complete and incomplete proteins, but I'm about tapped out with whole foods that I now need a supplement. Then at that point is where I'm good with a supplement. Do I want it to be an everyday breakfast? Absolutely not. A supplement is there to supplement when you cannot get that whole food. Is it awesome to travel with? Yeah. I always travel with tuna packets. I always travel with jerky or beef sticks, and I always travel with single serve protein powder because I never know where I'm going to be. For instance, I'm traveling here soon, and if I'm stuck on the tarmac for 6 hours and all I've had is those biscotti Delta cookies, like I can guarantee I'm pulling out that beef stick. I can guarantee I am asking for some water so I can make a protein shake because I will be hungry. And what they have available is not going to satisfy me and I will become hangry. So I always carry higher protein snacks. I carry a protein bar, protein powder with me as a supplement. It also makes it really easy on the go when you're traveling, when you're headed up north, when you have those times when you've planned, you prepared, but life just threw that curveball. So, one of the most common ones that I see people use are protein powders or those pre made protein drinks. Fairlife's got a really good one right now. I think they always have had them. I've just kind of noticed them now. Protein powder that I really like is Optimal Nutrition. It's the stuff we used up for the athletes at Central. And if it was good enough for our athletes, it's good enough for me. And we have a ton of registered dietitians and nutritionists up there. So I know they've done their research. So that's where I got my protein powder from. You can buy it at Costco. You can get it off Amazon. I'll drop a link in the show notes below too if you want to check it out. I usually get Amazon because it's a little bit more convenient for me. But there's also other options. If you don't like whey protein is going to be that most common that you're going to see in everything. Some people have a sensitivity to whey, or you are lactose intolerant. So you can try plant based protein options such as pea protein, soy protein, hemp protein. I haven't dabbled in those. I'm going to be completely honest because whey doesn't bother me. I have tried brown rice protein. It is not my favorite at all. It is very chalky. It could be just a brand I had. I don't know what it was. I tried it. I thought it was terrible. If you have recommendations for protein powders that are whey or non-whey, feel free to jump into our community. That link is in the show notes and share with us. I would love to know ones that you've tested out. I know people that have spent hundreds of dollars on trying to find a protein powder that tastes good, that's good consistency, all of that. So if you are somebody who's done that and you found one you love, please share with us in the community because it can get expensive to kind of try all of them till we find the right fit for us. So when we think about our protein, we've got complete, we've got incomplete, we've got supplements as an as needed basis. We've talked about the benefits. We've talked about what happens when we don't get enough of it. We've talked about how much you should be having, how to break it down. Now let's get you into some action steps. So tip number 1, track your protein intake. Keep a food log for 1 week. MyFitnessPal, Fitbit, pen and paper, whatever it is. Submit that food log to me using the link in the show notes and I will audit it for you. I'll let you know where we're missing, what meal probably needs a little bit more, and how many grams of protein you're actually getting. So that's number 1. Track your protein. Figure out your baseline. What are you actually getting in your diet? Tip number 2, prioritize protein at every meal. And when you prioritize protein, it's not just I'm getting protein on my plate. I'm getting protein on my plate. It's having some sort of visualization because we're not always going to have a measuring cup. We're not always going to have a scale. So thinking about, are you getting a palm size serving of protein, which is also similar to a deck of cards size wise and thickness? Are you getting a palm size serving or a deck of cards of protein at every meal and snack? So this could be 2 eggs. This could mean a serving of Greek yogurt for breakfast. This could mean chicken, shrimp, or tofu for lunch on a salad. This can mean salmon, a salmon quinoa bowl for dinner. Snacks, good ones, or even at breakfast to add on to increase that protein intake is cottage cheese, protein bar, like I said, on the go. Mixed nuts are also a great option. Nuts are a healthy fat. What can happen is if we take lots of handful of nuts, nuts are going to be high in calories and they're going to be on that higher fat side, but they're healthy fats. But you are also going to get protein. So if you are somebody who's eating just kind of mindlessly nuts throughout your day and you're kind of wondering why you're maybe at a plateau or maybe that weight's gone up a little bit, let's see how many nuts you're actually eating and see if we can find a good balance and maybe find an alternative in there. Because don't get me wrong, that trail mix and those handful of nuts, that salty, all of that is phenomenal together and I love it. But it can be one of those where we don't realize that we're over consuming. Number 3, plan and prep. Meal prepping can help ensure that you're hitting your protein targets. I truly believe that if we are able to manage our time, prep our week, plan our food, get everything in alignment, you have no reason not to be successful with your workouts, with your nutrition, and being successful in life in general. So, meal prepping and planning is going to help you make sure that you've got protein readily available, that you're not looking in the fridge and like, oh, all we got is carrots. Like making sure that you have a plan. 2 things that I like to do, or 3 things that I like to do at the start of the week is I've got clients who make protein overnight oats, where they do overnight oats, they add protein powder. I've got a few recipes for that. They do a batch for the week and they take it to work. It's a really great alternative, or a really great option, I should say, not alternative. Really great option to have protein planned and prepped ahead of time. My 2 favorites are shredded chicken in the Instapot using a hand mixer, which I've got a video on that here coming out in a little bit, kind of showing you a hack that I have there. But making shredded chicken plain, I'll make like 4 pounds of it in advance at the start of the week. We keep it plain in the fridge. We pull it out and we doctor it up however we want to each day. Sometimes it's plain, sometimes it's barbecue, sometimes I turn it into Mediterranean, sometimes it's buffalo. It just kind of depends, but I have the option. The other thing that I really like to do is if I am able to, I will take my ground beef. I'll ground up 5 to 10 pounds. I know it seems like a lot, but I will ground it up. I'll turn it into taco meat where it's already pre-cooked. Once it is cooled, I will put in Ziploc baggies into servings of what works for my family, and I will freeze it in those little Ziploc baggies. And then in the morning, when I know we're having tacos, or burrito bowls or whatever it is, I'll just pull that Ziploc baggie out. It will defrost in the fridge easily throughout the day. By the time dinner comes around, it will be ready to eat. And the best part is you don't have to cook. You've already done the cooking portion. All you got to do is rewarm it up whatever way you see best, whether it's in the microwave, in a pan, in an air fryer, on some nachos, whatever that looks like. And then tip number 4, do not fear protein supplements. I know I talked about how I don't want you using them on a daily basis, but to be honest, if that's where you're at right now, awesome. Do I think that should be a long term having a protein supplement all the time? No. But if that's where you're at right now and that's what works for your life, then do it because protein supplements, once you find one you like and you know what's in it and it tastes good and it works for your life, throw it in there. I think it's awesome to have options that are quick and easy and effective. So, to recap, protein is absolutely essential for your body to function properly, build muscle, lose fat, and recover from your workouts. Us as women especially need to prioritize protein for our unique health and fitness goals. We want to aim for about 100 grams of protein a day. That's 20 to 30 grams per meal, making sure we get some in at snacks. I challenge you this week to look at your protein. Start looking down at your plate. Do you have a palm size? If you don't, can you add a palm size? Or, yeah, I am, but it's like half a palm size. Add a little bit more. Get yourself a little bit more protein. Gradually build that protein intake up so you're hitting that 100 grams consistently. At that point, then let's get more specific on what that number should look like. So, thank you so much for joining me today. I have a big ask for you. If you have a woman in your life, whether it's your sister, your mom, your best friend, who you think would benefit from this episode, that you're like, you need more protein, you just had a baby, or you need more protein, you're going through menopause, I challenge you to share this episode with them. You can click that share button, send it to them in a text, say, you need to listen to this. This is how the podcast grows. That's a phenomenal way to support me so that we can continue to do this podcast for you. So, on that note, I will talk to you all next time. Thank you for listening to the Empower Her Wellness Podcast. I hope you feel more empowered and ready to tackle your wellness goals. If you have any questions or topics you'd like me to cover, feel free to send me a message. Make sure to subscribe and leave a review to help us reach more women just like you. Until next time, take control of your wellness and keep empowering yourself every day.